Good morning. I hope you're doing well. A little dressed up for you today. Had a couple of appointments with clients talking over their financial needs. It's great to help people take control over their money and their lives. I really enjoy that part of the process. Today, I'm going to talk to you about tips for being a freelancer, and I want to share with you my experience. Now, I've been freelancing for probably close to 10 years now, so it's taken a while to get these tips together, and I want to share them with you so you can sort of skip forward in your freelancing journey and learn these lessons right out of the gate instead of like I did over time. So the first thing we're going to do is talk about how to determine what you're going to offer. Now, what a lot of people do is they'll go in one of two routes. They'll either focus on a skill set, offering some sort of service or product based on something that looks interesting to them. So they bought an Etsy product. They thought that's really cool. They thought it'd be fun to make the same Etsy product and sell it. That might be a path they go for determining what they're going to offer. Others may go and focus on professional skill sets they already have. So maybe you're in finance like I am, and you decide that's the route you're going to go, which is candidly what I did. None of these routes are necessarily wrong, but I'm going to encourage you to think about it a slightly different way. And what I want you to do is ask yourself, what do people call me for help with? So what do people call you for help with? Now, for me personally, it just so happens that most people call me, they ask questions about finance, which makes sense. That's what I'm mostly known for. And that just happens to be the business that I'm in. But you may be asked other things. You may be really intrigued with those Etsy products and creating that type of content and selling it. But people may not necessarily call you or know you for that right now. Doesn't mean you can't build a business around that. It just means it's going to take you longer. If you want early success and momentum, it's usually best to start with something that people already know you for and that they're calling you for. So maybe people call you for advice on, I don't know, the best coffee to drink, or my coffee's right over here, so I had to pick that. Or, how to create the best videos for YouTube, or people call you for your math skills, all kinds of things. So if you don't know the answer to that, it's a really important thing to dive into, is to understand what people call you for. If you don't know the answer, you could turn around and call them, call your friends, call your family, call other people that you know in your professional network and say, hey, if you had a problem that you were trying to solve, what type of problem would you call me for help with? And that'll tell you what people think your expertise or skill set is. So that's the first thing I would do. Ask yourself what people call you for help with. That's how you determine what you can offer. The next thing I would focus on is building a referral network. Now, I was very fortunate, particularly in my banking years when I was a commercial lender. I got to a point where I had such a large network that I really didn't have to do any cold calling at all. As a matter of fact, most, if not all, of my business came to me strictly from referrals. So early on in your freelance career, build a referral network. There's a couple ways you can do that. You can start to establish relationships with people online. So I spend a fair amount of time recently on Twitter. I'm starting to rebuild a network and connect with like-minded people that are in similar synergistic businesses around what I do. So attorneys and accountants, folks like that. You could build networks online. You can build networks in person. You can go to networking events. Some people absolutely hate doing that type of stuff. Some people love it. I've got an agent that I work with in Florida. We just got off a call together, and she is a networking queen with her local network. So her friends and family understand what she's doing and are referring her all kinds of business right now. And that's just her local network. She doesn't even have an online presence that I'm aware of. So there's lots of different ways to network. The key is just to build that network so that you can work with them, get their trust, and leverage them for referrals over time. If you build that type of network, you should be able to get to a place where, my business is referral only, you should get to a place where referrals are just coming in and you work on those. It's the easiest lead gen that there is. I do recommend setting up profiles online. I do think it's a good idea. For freelancing specifically, there are sites out there that help freelancers build a business. I got my early start as a freelancer on one of those sites, which is the most popular, Upwork. And as a matter of fact, I think even to this day, I'm on my 5th or 6th year as what they call top rated, which means I've done a lot of business every year on there. I don't do as much business on Upwork anymore. I've sort of, the word I would think of is maybe graduated from that. But early on, it was very helpful for me because people were going there with opportunities and I was able to bid on them and win them. And there's this whole process you can go through to do that. I've talked about that in other videos. But I do recommend setting up some profiles there, particularly if you're brand new to it, because you may not find high paying opportunities, but you can find opportunities to kind of start getting your business feet underneath you. So Upwork, Fiverr, places like that are a great place to create profiles and start to experience what freelancing is like. I would also encourage you, if you're early in your freelance career, to start to set very realistic rates. And I don't want you to set them so low that it's hard to get to the point of where you want to be. But early in a freelance career, at least what I experienced, was I kind of had to start on the lower end of what I wanted to charge and then work my way up over time in those fees. So set realistic goals in terms of rates. If you've never been someone who's been able to charge $500 an hour, it's probably not a good idea to try and set your rates at $500 an hour just because some guru told you to do that. So start low in the beginning, climb over time. Just don't set them so low that you're doing work for money that you really don't feel good about. As it relates to pricing, I would encourage you to aim for project-based pricing, not hourly. And so here's what I mean by that. If you've got a gig that you're working on for someone and it typically takes you 5 hours to do it, don't just charge for 5 hours of work. Try and charge a larger project fee, fixed rate is how I've done it. And then that puts the onus on you to get it done quickly. But if you can get it done more quickly, you're getting a better average hourly rate. So let me explain that a little bit more. If you think it's going to take you normally it takes you 3 hours to do something. A lot of times what I will do is build into my fixed rate pricing a 5 hour. And sometimes that makes sense because there have been clients I've worked with and things have gone a little bit over the amount of time I thought. And we're going to talk about one of those next, which is over deliver under promise. But try and think about project-based pricing. That way, if you're incentivized to get the work done faster, and that just increases your average hourly rate. So I would shoot for that type of thing. That's a little tough early on because if you have a fixed project price and you're not sure exactly how long it's going to take you to do something, then sometimes you're kind of losing some money. But I don't like hourly because you tend to nickel and dime your clients to death. So I recommend project-based pricing. I mentioned we're going to talk about over deliver, under promise, but I'm actually going to put that one off for a second. So use early clients to establish a process or workflow. So let me repeat that one. Use early clients to establish a process or workflow. Early on, I was willing to take gigs or opportunities and make less money because I knew that I was learning through the process and I wasn't going to, my work wasn't going to be perfect for the client. It was going to be good. It's going to be worth getting paid for. But it wasn't going to be perfect. So I was willing to take less because I was exchanging that work and using it as research to establish processes. And over time, I was able to establish processes that made my work faster and therefore made my project-based pricing more lucrative for me. See how all that ties together? So use early clients to establish a process and workflow so you're very efficient and you deliver. So now we are going to talk about over deliver and under promise. I recommend doing this through your entire freelance career, but it's especially important early on to over deliver and under promise. So what I will do is when I work with a client, one of my processes is establishing a scope of work so they know exactly what they're going to get for the money they're paying. That also protects me if they're asking for something outside of that scope. I get to point back to the document and say, well, this is outside the scope of what we agreed to. So I'm either going to have to charge you more or something else is going to have to be exchanged. So over deliver on that scope of work. Now, I won't go too far above and beyond that scope of work because then I am losing money and time. But in lots of instances, I will add extra value that they didn't plan on getting. And the reason I do that leads me to my last thing, advice to become successful as a freelancer, is to ask for referrals. Now you're saying, well, Jonathan, we already talked about building a referral network. Yes, we did. We talked about third parties, other people who have businesses like yours, but not exactly like yours, that have the clients you want that could refer you business, building that network. What I'm talking about here is having your clients refer you business. This is the easiest, word of mouth is the easiest way to market any business. And I see so many business owners not focusing on asking for referrals. In our business, we just got done talking about this week. We are a referral-based business. I've got an 11 o'clock that's going to happen that comes strictly from referral from someone. And so there's an opportunity for revenue for me and one of my agents to benefit strictly from a referral. So ask your clients for referrals. Now, the best time to do that, this is the last piece of advice for today, is after you've I can't speak today. I'm just going to leave that in here and not even edit it out. We're just going to have fun with that today. The best time to ask for referrals from your clients is right after you've over-delivered. right? So you're starting to wrap up the project. You've delivered them a lot of great work. You went a little bit above and beyond what you promised in your scope of work. And a lot of times what will happen is they'll say, I'll say something like, hey, listen, we're starting to wrap up. How did you feel about this process? And they'll say something like, well, this was phenomenal. You did great work, blah, 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 blah. The next thing out of my mouth after I say, thank you, I appreciate that, is, well, do you know someone else that could benefit from the type of work I do? That's the best time to ask for referrals, immediately after they're very happy with the results that you got them. Don't let them off the hook to think about it. I highly recommend pressing on that a little bit. If they say, yes, I know some people say, great, could you introduce us via email right away? Yes, I'll do that. So I'm going to summarize everything back because it's a lot in a short amount of time. Determine what you're going to offer by asking people or thinking through, what do people call me for help with? Build a referral network with like-minded business professionals who don't have the exact same business, but they have the same type of client. Set up profiles on freelancing sites early on to get started. It's a great way to kind of get some revenue going, get the juices flowing, Upwork, Fiverr, places like that. Set realistic rates, start a little lower than you might like in the beginning and start building toward that as you get busier and busier. Aim for project-based compensation, not hourly. Use early clients to establish a process and workflow. Think about scopes of work, delineating the work you're going to do for the money you're getting paid and not going outside of that, except slightly over delivering, under promising. So don't promise 2 weeks turnaround time when it's on average going to be 3. And then finally, make sure you're asking your clients for referrals. If they love what you do, they should be more than happy to refer you business. I hope that helps you. Hope you have a great day.